First, you must realize that you have no idea before you can know the idea. We scan across all the frequencies if we want to learn anything new. Let us begin.
What has physics done for me lately?
Furthermore, the equation E is equal mc squared.
We have now acquired a fateful power to alter and to destroy nature.
That's like when you're in physics and you go to Dreamworld saying, oh, this is a physics excursion.
Science. What is it all about?
The whole of human history all falls in the dust of one stroke of the nail file. You can't really get to grips with evolution unless you realise what an enormous amount of time.
Our own planet is only a tiny part of the vast cosmic tapestry, a starry fabric of worlds yet untold.
You are tuned into what can only be described as the best radio station on this blue dot we call Earth. It is, of course, 4ZZZ, your community broadcaster, be it on your conventional wireless radio, by tuning into the classic frequency of 102.1 FM, digital devices such as DAB or smart speaker, listening via the Community Radio Plus app, or streaming us live from our sensational website at 4ZZ.org. And of course, you can always listen back to us or any 4ZZZ show using the ingenious on-demand feature also found at that URL. We also now have a weekly podcast of the show for your listening pleasure, curated by Tobes, a condensed version of the show without the music, which my mum prefers. Just search for our show name, which is, of course, No Idea, spelt with a K, your weekly dose of science. And joining me for this episode to speak about all things science are two of my favourite science influencers. Howdy, Peta.
Howdy. Howdy do. Good day.
And the friendly Gabe. How are we going?
Good space time to you, Max.
Space time.
It's episode number 676 in Peter's least favourite segment that we run.
It's actually not my least favourite segment.
Second least favourite segment that we run throughout the show.
We know what my least favourite segment is.
And Max, you're going to love this because I've merged her two least favourite segments into one today.
Are you serious?
Because episode number 676 is a dangerous stack of numbers to be saying out loud these days. But it's also, do you know there was a Project 676, which was the internal name for last year's Ferrari F1 car.
Yes.
The F124.
Yeah.
Which was the last car that Scuderia Ferrari made that won an F1 race.
There you go.
Coming up on the show, I've got stuff on some experimental manipulation of people's X feeds, Twitter feeds, to see if they could change their political opinions, as well as I'm going to do a bit of a run through of this new AI plan and what it means and what it doesn't mean for the future of AI in the country. The Australian government's released a new plan for AI.
All over
so
it.
We'll get into that.
Nice.
What do you got, Max?
I went to a conference last week, so I'm going to speak a little bit to that.
Thrilling.
Yeah.
Get ready, everyone. A conference. Whoa.
Peter?
I'm looking at some scales. We've got some scaly stuff. And then also a little interesting tidbit about humpbacks that I wasn't super aware of.
Go for it, Peter.
All right, starting a little bit different today. I want to just know, what do you guys know about Norway? And I thought we'd just vibe with some fun facts.
Yeah.
And if they're fun enough, I may not even talk about marine life.
What do I know about Norway?
What do you know about Norway?
They love their whale. Don't they eat whale?
They do eat whale.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's a bummer.
I
isn't
don't
it?
know. No, I think you're thinking of Iceland. Iceland is one of the
Norway
last
may be
remaining
used to-
countries that still whales.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Iceland
their
adjacent.
flag is red.
Norway.
Yep,
adjacent.
that's
Participate
true.
in Eurovision.
There's one person you love from Norway, from
Yeah.
Eurovision. I know this.
How many countries are there in Europe?
I don't know.
I'll tell you.
Great question, Max.
I looked it up.
What a wonderful question about geography that I'm now
56.
upset that I
It's
brought this up.
Lewis Hamilton's number.
40-something.
44, yeah.
Wasn't that how many are in
What-
Eurovision?
what
Never
are we meant
mind.
to know
Let's
about
get into
Norway?
this. I was really hoping one of you guys would bring up salmon.
Oh, salmon.
I think they're pretty well known for salmon. I thought it would be an obvious thing to bring up. And with salmon, just like that, like the ancestors of whales, we return to the sea. We get back to my point. So 2 things are true about Norwegian salmon. Norway has the largest wild salmon population remaining on Earth. So key point there, remaining. And yet, the current population is not even half of its number that it was in the 80s. So even since the 80s, it's gone down by 50%. And that would have been a reduction from before then too. So Not much salmon left, but still the largest remaining wild salmon population on Earth. And a lot of this degradation in population has to do with salmon farming. Now, Norway produces over 1.5 million tons of farmed salmon every year. We get a little bit of it here in Australia, not much. It's starting to creep in. It's not a hugely popular product here, probably because it just has to go so far. But yes, that some of it will start ending up here. It is one of the biggest producers of salmon in the world. And every single year, 200,000 to 300,000 farmed fish escape into rivers and fjords through farming errors, extreme weather events. Human error was one of the things given. So these salmon escape from the farm into the wild. And the escapees breed with wild salmon. And when they breed, they introduce parasites like sea lice. They compete for food and spawning grounds, and they actually have like genetic issues that they're passing on to the wild salmon. Now in Australia, we don't have this problem. Our own farmed Atlantic salmon has many, many, many problems that we're not going to get into. But one of the things they don't necessarily have to worry about is wild salmon populations, because we don't have wild Atlantic salmon here. Yeah. They're not native. They're not a native animal. So when they do have escapees, it's not the same problem as what they have in Norway, where they have the exact same species, wild and farmed, but the farmed species, the farmed individuals have a different sort of, not really, part of their genetics is a little different, part of their body is a little different. So you don't want the farmed and the wild to interbreed. That's the real no-no.
I thought all the farm ones were sterilised, though.
It's a big thing in farming is to sterilise them. So one of the things they'll do with farmed fish is they'll change their. One of the things they can do is they can like add another chromosome, which can stop them from breeding. There's lots of different things you can do to try and sterilise fish in farm situations. Mm-hmm. But the thing with that is that, like a lot of sterilisation of animals, it doesn't always work. It's not 100% effective. It's very, very difficult to 100% sterilise a large population. And so what happens is when you have these escapees, some are going to breed. It's just going to happen. You can't protect against you can't sterilise an entire population, basically. It's really difficult, especially when you're actively trying to have a brood stock as well. Difficult thing to do. Essentially, yes, they do breed when they get out into the wild. It may not be at the same level, but that's what it is. And today, what they've found is about 2/3 of wild Norwegian salmon show genetic signs of interbreeding with farmed fish. So, a lot. 2/3 of the wild fish have genetic markers of being interbred.
Yeah, right.
So not great, because those ones don't survive as well. So one of the things they need to do is monitor escapees. It's crucial work, identifying farmed versus wild salmon. But it's very, very slow and it's very manual. So the methods they use range from genetic analyses to something. They sort of like look at the shape of the fish, because the farmed ones aren't shaped the same. They're a bit different. And then the last thing and the most common thing is scale analysis. And that's what we're talking about today. So scale analysis makes use of distinct growth patterns on fish scales to distinguish the wild from the farmed. No. Not weight. Oh yes, not like you put them on a scale, the scale on their skin. Yeah, they're scaled. So salmon scales grow by forming concentric rings on their surface, much like tree rings. And what else? Does anyone remember?
Otoliths.
Otoliths, yes, the ear bones of fish, which is how we age them, a common aging method of fish. Scales are the same thing. They have the same growth patterns on these salmon. But farmed salmon are reared under highly controlled conditions with continuous feeding, stable temperatures, they're reduced energetic costs because they don't swim as much because they're confined in a cage. So they grow pretty steadily all year round, and their scales don't show those bouts of growth that wild animals get when, certain seasons bring more food and prosperity. Let's just say summer has a lot more food, so they'll grow faster, and then winter they have to, they won't grow as much. So the farmed animals don't have that. One interesting thing that I didn't know is they also said that on the scales, when they're looking at them, they can also differ by how scratched they are. So the overcrowding in the pens of the farmed animals actually almost like sandpaper wear down the scales from the outside, which is to me a little disturbing about how overcrowded they are, because that just doesn't happen in the wild. So they said they can really tell just by looking at it. And they've also got other variabilities, shape, size, that comes from their conditions. But the main thing that we're looking at here is those rings. Do they have those stagnant periods? Can you see rings, really? But as you can guess, doing this work is really, really difficult and time-consuming and expensive, because you have to loads of people looking at little scales. They have to be under microscopes. You have to, take photos, all sorts of stuff. Very, very difficult. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to check whether a computer can do it better. And this is something we're seeing a lot.
Cam. Let's go.
It's similar to salmon cam. Yeah, there's lots of stuff around the world about counting things where we're, especially in ecology, we're moving to things that are, I'm going to say AI here. I need to flag here. When we're talking about, this is not generative AI. This is the sort of AI we've been using in science for a very, very, very long time. And it's, I'd say, one of the things that AI is really good at and can really help with. So they want to see whether it could be better. So Norway samples around 200 rivers annually, but the scale of the images sort of vary, like different resolutions, imaging techniques. There's archived samples they have to compare them to. So a team of Norwegian researchers wanted to know, can a neural network be trained on a huge, messy, real-world data set reliably identify whether the salmon is farmed or wild at a national scale?
Yeah, that's good.
So they built a convolutional neural network, or CNN, to distinguish the wild versus farm scales. They gave it nearly 90,000 scale images from national archives. So those samples were from hundreds of Norwegian rivers from the 1930s to 2024. So nearly 100 years worth of scale photos. And it also included 2 imaging methods. So real scales, which were photographed directly, and then scale imprints, which were pressed into acetate. So it had all of these different things to look at. It wasn't, uniform. And about 8.5% of the images were known to be farmed fish. Doesn't really stack up with the, 8.5% is not a huge amount for it to learn from. And they were cleaned and standardized, and they looked at these images. So essentially, does it work? This is the big question. They fed it all of this information. It's super messy. Could it figure it out? It only bloody well works. The model performed exceptionally well and was able to differentiate farmed from wild salmon across most salmon rivers in Norway from 2009 to 2023 with a 95% accuracy. 95%. It also was when they did independent validation, so they actually gave it things that they knew were wild and they knew were farmed, like samples from the farms. It had a 99.9% correct classification of genetically confirmed wild fish and a 99.3% correct classification of fish taken from fish farms, which is at or above the level of trained human
Yeah, that's what
experts.
I was going to say, How good are humans at it? Like 95% or something like that? Probably.
I mean, I'd say they're pretty good, but also that's because you can take your time. Like a human wouldn't stop until we know we're right.
Yeah.
And most of the time, obviously you're still going to have a couple of mistakes, but you would be able to take more time. This is doing it, it's the time difference is massive. This is across decades of images, different imaging systems, and it's super, super rapid. So the biggest thing that this can do is it'll be able to do fast detection of escape events, which means that they can go and clean it up.
And get onto it early, yeah.
And quicker management response, because currently it takes so long to be able to even identify if they're farmed or wild.
Right.
By that point, they're escaped anyway. They've been bred. You've just spent all this time. Yeah. The only downside to this that I could see was that it wasn't really good at fish, what they call early escapees. So fish that escaped young and then grew up in the wild, because you have that mixed growth signature.
Yeah.
But
when
they
could be trained
in the
on. Yeah, true.
It could, look, this is the first iteration.
Yeah.
But to me, this is a really cool bit of tech that's coming to Norway and will hopefully help them really sort this issue out a lot faster.
And Gabe,
it's super powerful.
You want to look at the playlist, Gabe? There's a few texts in.
Wow, already salmon lovers. That's how it goes. People be loving salmon nowadays.
You want to read some of those out?
I can't see it, Max.
Okay.
You go.
Okay, well, we got Mac. They reckon there's about 7 countries in Europe, but we'll just dismiss that one. We've got Vern. This is Vern, right? I tried whale in Norway 2 years ago. They still do, unless anything has changed since then. Great show.
They do. I had a quick look. It's the 1,400 minke whales I took in the last season.
And because I knew Iceland, but it must be Norway as well.
And Anthony,
a couple of Europeans,
texted in, said Norway actually introduced salmon sushi to Japan.
Yes, they did. That's true. They had too much salmon. They didn't know what to do with it, and so they sold it to the Japanese, and the Japanese loved it for sushi.
He's also texted in, there's a king penguin that is an honorary colonel in the Norwegian army.
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't want to be given orders by a penguin.
That's right. Hit us up, Gabe.
What this study has done is brilliant. It's terrifying, but it's brilliant. And I've been wanting someone to do a study like this for ages. We all know social media is just ruining the world, right?
Yeah. It is. Mm-hmm.
Spoiling everything.
My brain.
But what I've always wanted to see was a study where scientists take a bunch of people and give them their normal social media feeds, and then take another similar group of people and give them a customized feed. Scientifically mess with the feed to see if you can change people's minds. in doing so, maybe not prove, but put a strong possibility of a causal link between what people are seeing on their social media feeds and increasing things like political tension in their opinions, in their behaviors, and their views. So this is multiple research institutions involved, but led out of Stanford University. You got a QS ranking?
Stanford.
Stanford.
8. I'll go 8.
11.
15.
It's a 3.
I was going to
Jumped
say
up from
4.
6
So
last
if you
year.
divide by 5.
It's so close, Izzy. What they did is they took about 1,200 people and they put them on Twitter, presently known as X, and they looked for people who had at least 5% of their feed involving political content, and they did this in the guts of the 2024 presidential election in the US. They were all US people.
Yeah.
So at the time, it was the time where there was the assassination attempt. It was the time where Joe Biden stepped down from the race, and it was the time when Kamala Harris stepped up into the race. That was the context of what was going on when they ran this study. I'm sure that wasn't planned. That's just they probably just wanted to do it in a normal presidential race, but that's when they did it, and so the participants didn't know what they were being studied for, obviously. They also asked them, did you notice any changes to your X feed? And none of them reported anything. So it seems like it was a good way of sort of surreptitiously changing their feeds and seeing what it changes in terms of their views. Yeah. And what they were looking for specifically is anti-democratic attitudes and partisan animosity in posts. So anti-democratic posts, flavor in posts, and partisan, so one party versus the other, animosity in posts. They were looking, they scraped people's For You pages on X and scanned for that sort of content. It was about 10% of the feed was that sort of content. And then they built a browser extension for Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge on people's computers. They plugged it into their Chrome, and what it would do is it would add about 3 seconds of page load time to X, but it would go in, load their For You page, and reorder it.
Oh,
and
so it's the same post, it's just in a different direction.
Same posts, it looked like the same feed. They just played with up-ranking and down-ranking. We talk about this a lot in the algorithms, what it up-ranks, what it down-ranks, and all that sort of stuff. So they, about half of the people who weren't in the control, they had a control who was just looking at their normal feed, but for the half of the people who weren't in the control, they up-ranked this sort of anti-democratic partisan content, and the other half, they down-ranked it. So it went from about 10% of their feed being that sort of content down to 1% in the down-ranked people, and it went from about 10% up to about 13% in the up-ranked people.
It's not even that big of a difference.
It's not a huge difference because they weren't looking at a huge number of posts. We'll get into some of the limitations of the study, but they were looking, the median was 13 minutes on the X feed per day, looking at 92 posts. So
not even that active, I'd say.
It wasn't a huge amount of activity.
Good God,
yeah,
we're
exactly.
cooked.
So when the researchers turned the dial up on these feeds for that sort of content, the respondents reported higher levels of polarization and felt colder towards the other political group that they're not in. When the feeds were manipulated to take the heat out of the post they were seeing, they had more positive feelings, warmer feelings, they called them, towards the other political group. These changes were present in people on either side of the political aisle. They were splitting, obviously, in between Democratic and Republican supporters in the US, and they were seen during scrolling. They had surveys during as they were scrolling.
Wow!
And they also looked up to a week after scrolling, and those changes persisted for that week after. There were small shifts, only about a 2% shift up or down on a scale of 100. It was about 2 points up or 2 points down, depending on a higher warmth in the ones that had less that sort of charged content and more coldness in the people who had the more of that charged content. However, the researchers say previous research shows that's consistent with about 3 years of time to build up that level of shift otherwise. Like, to get a 2% shift on the scale they were looking at would usually take someone in the current political climate up until 2020, the research was. It took people about 3 years to do that 2% shift. They were able to achieve at least a temporary 2% shift in a couple of scrolls over the course of a week.
That's amazing.
So, and remember, they were only comparing these results to people using an unaltered X feed. They also comparing that to unaltered X feed, which isn't what you call neutral in the first place. Like we all know, it's already supercharged. So the fact they're able to change people's political attitudes both directions from the starting point of a standard X feed for people who have a lot of political content already on their feed says a lot about how the power of this, what they've grabbed onto here, this anti-democratic and partisan content. And they also cite a lot of previous research into different things people have done and not really had clear success in quote unquote improving people's opinions, like trying to find a way of taking this sort of these attitudes, negative attitudes out of how people see people who don't agree with them politically or what it might be. They look at things like previous research has just introduced stuff from the other side of the political aisle, and that hasn't really worked. Sometimes it has, sometimes it hasn't in discharging how people are feeling about the political animosity people have. There's been studies of just going back to the reverse chronological order of social media feeds that we used to have, also not found clear results that's beneficial.
That's interesting.
So they found really mixed results. So the fact that they've grabbed onto this idea of this stuff that matches anti-democratic or partisan content as a thing to uprank or downrank and found a clear effect is quite impressive. It's sort of cottoning onto this may be one of those key things that you could use to focus on to try and improve people's feeds and improve the results of people being on social media. And it also means there's potentially relatively simple ways that social media companies could be reducing tensions and increasing healthy discussions by downranking what this hostile political content.
I mean, I think then we get into the discussion of do they want to though? Because there's a large contingent of people who they get a lot of money from outrage.
That's right.
So.
And so a lot of the metrics are now built towards engagement, regardless of what that engagement is, because it keeps you on the app. It's an easy thing for them to grab onto as a metric to fuel, up-ranking and down-ranking in the algorithms as they stand now. I think it would be amazing though to see, then the debate also goes, what is politically hostile to one might not be to another.
Did they look at truthfulness at all of the posts?
No, the politically hostile content.
And then we're stepping into censorship.
And exactly right. And then do you want a social media company being the one responsible for that? Personally, I think it'd be very interesting if this sort of research stacks up with more verification to see if these sorts of dials could be handed to a user to give, you could have dials to control your own feed of how much hostility do you want in your content, how much of these different things that we know can make a difference, and you can play with it yourself. But I think it's a really cool early study. It's found this really amazing effect of this politically hostile content, that the anti-democratic and partisan type of hostile content. You turn that up, it makes people dislike each other more colder opinions towards each other. You turn it down and you get warmer opinions towards people. So it's pretty groundbreaking in its results. There are a lot of limitations to it though. It was US only. It was an online survey. It was during peak election season, so who knows if that's a good example of a good time to use as a representative survey.
Election season with a very specific person as well.
Election season during really high tensions as well. They did discard about a quarter of people who had less political content on their feeds just because they wouldn't hit the numbers they needed to get statistical significance.
Sure, okay.
They didn't do long-term follow-up. It was only a week after. A big one for me though is that they had to use X daily from the web interface, which means
not even phone.
They couldn't enforce what people were doing outside of this time. So people could have just pulled up their phones anyway and got a normal feed. It also meant even if they were following the rules, a regular X user is probably using their phone more than a browser. So what we could be seeing here is more just the effect of using X less if they're off their phone app and only using it on the desktop version with this plugin. And there's previous evidence to show that less time in social media can have these types of impacts on people's attitudes and opinions towards each other. So a lot still to investigate. It needs a lot of limitation to the study purely because it's such a complex field. They did really well in what they could do. And it's a really cool first step of something that could just make social media a less negative thing in so many people's lives. Is this idea that they're cutting onto stuff that meets this definition of AAPA, that is the acronym for it, that anti-democratic attitudes and partisan animosity. But yeah, I just think it's fascinating. I've been looking for studies like these, and I don't know how many hoops they would have had to jump through to deliberately try and sway people's opinions during election season. Like they're playing with live ammo here. But just amazing stuff.
Cool.
And hopefully we'll get to see more like it in the future.
0, 1, 2.
And this is what they recovered using AI in the data set.
Thank God someone's working on this. I don't know what I'd do without it.
You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea, your weekly dose of science with me, Max. We've got Issy, we've got Peta, and we've got Gabe. And we don't have part 3 of this because we're going to talk about the conference we went to last week.
We are.
So it was a social prescribing
pull
conference.
up my notes, yeah.
And I never heard of the term before. You were quite au fait with it, weren't you?
Yes. For those who don't know, I am studying a double degree of journalism and justice in policy, and this was definitely in the kind of peripheral toolbox of policy.
Yeah.
I'll try and pull up. If you've got the definition of it there, then definitely read it out.
Well,
Max.
I'll just kick it off. I'll just say, as we know, technology has afforded us with unprecedented level of connection, and yet statistics show we are experiencing greater loneliness and social isolation. And this is where the conference is talking about social prescribing, trying to change those effects of social isolation and loneliness. It's a new situation facing healthcare, where once it was, say, 1 in 5 may experience being alone. The latest statistic puts it at closer to 1 in 3. So that's a third of Australians now currently feeling lonely. So this is what the conference was talking about. Up until now, the usual narrative for treatment would be to visit your local GP or pharmacist to get some advice and medication. And clearly this approach is not working effectively. And this is where ASPIRE, which stands for Australian Social Prescribing Institute of Research and Education, aims to try and take a holistic approach to your healthcare and normal well-being.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more person-centered. That kind of treats loneliness and disconnection not as a symptom but as signals to connect. So it prioritizes the individual within a kind of care plan, as opposed to kind of ticking boxes of like, okay, you visited your GP, okay, you're doing all the right health stuff.
Yes,
but
you're on the right medication.
Yes.
Now let's go further. Let's get some social interaction going on. Go and do your park run, or go cycling with your mates, or go fishing with your mates.
And I think in the conference they talked about how that first step is often a big struggle.
Yes.
And we attended various talks from academic professionals and also people with lived experience as well. So that was really interesting to hear.
And there's a lot of software being produced as well as a tool for link workers who can then hopefully change the narrative to stop loneliness being a big issue in Australia. And so I'm just going to round this out because I'm going to play a bit of a closing speech from the conference. But big thanks to pharmacist Jenny, who organised for us to be there and runs the Pharmacist Aligned program called PALS, which stands for Pharmacy Addressing Loneliness and Social Isolation. And the ASPIRE's chairperson, Dr. J.R. Baker, who closed out the conference with a final comment.
Really, I want to start with thank yous. A lot of people have, well, first of all, you've given your time to be here. Time's a funny one because that's the actual only thing that has any value at all, really, in good time. So we put money on it. We get hourly wages, or we decide how we allocate it, but at the end of the day, that's our greatest asset, and choosing to spend it generously here is much appreciated. Also, thanks to the people who took the time to fly halfway around the world or all the way around the world, and that's not fun, I know well, so I appreciate you coming to share your knowledge and your thoughts. Well, I think I have a title, but I won't overdo the title, Social Prescribing Future. Okay, well, the future's bright, I think. The problems aren't going anywhere. And I think I was taking the work from home thing, just made me think back to the last more than 10 years, really. Social prescribing has existed in different ways forever, but we had to formalize it more recently because we've lost so many things that are wonderful. And so, in a sense, social prescribing is how do we make life more wonderful again for the people who are missing bits and pieces. And I think there's enough knowledge in the room, although a lot of it's left already, so that's a bit cheeky. There's even more knowledge before, but certainly to solve most of these huge problems. I did notice when Rosemary asked what people can do to support ASPIRE, there was a large list of things ASPIRE could do. But I would reinvite that actual thought, because the thing is, whether you're doing work at the local community level, we definitely don't stop, but share your learnings, I think, and we might have to find a better way to do that. Share your stories so that we can actually share those with governments, with funders, and with the public, to be honest. And so I think our takeaway, the future, the immediate future, is really, obviously we're with Rosemary and Stella to actually compile all the things that have come through today, but also look at better ways for you to actually share vast resources that exist here. I think I was most fascinated in the last 12 months by a colleague at the World Health Organization who shared a paper on the knowledge that exists within, it was healthcare teams at the time, but it doesn't matter, within the system where you don't really know to tap into it. There's cultural knowledge, there's lived experience knowledge, there's language and arts and whatever you want, but it's a sort of unlimited bank of knowledge, and it's really hard to figure out how to get into it. And so I think really the challenge for the next 3 months for us is how to actually access all your knowledge, to push things ahead quite quickly. And I'm sure once we have a chance to work through all the comments from today, we'll come back and obviously circle back to figure out ways to ask you how you can help and how we can help you. So that's a good thing. I actually did 100 couple notes this time, so I'll say, I don't like notes. I'm not very good with notes. The other thing I'll say, I'll end with dating apps or something, because that sounds like a good way to end a conference. But I find it an interesting concept, because once upon a time, proximity, and it came from the previous presentation again, but it brought me back to a circle. The 30-minute rule, I don't remember what it's called, I don't know if it's true, because you've done the Chris has heard of it, but what was it? Marchetti's constant. You know, where do relationships used to form? In the workplace, in your streets, in your neighborhoods, because proximity was the greatest predictor of relationships, effectively. Now we have the internet and we have dating apps, so we can try to find a relationship from 23,000 kilometers away, go on. And what's the consequence of that? There is a consequence, and it can be a dire one, which is that we find exactly what we think we want. But social prescribing actually is about doing the stuff we love together, not just finding the perfect person with our exact set of opinions, beliefs, religion, skin color, whatever else to do that. So I think social prescribing is the re-invitation to bridging capital, to seeing the stuff that we have in common, to that common value that we have to offer everybody, and to bridging divides that we've lost through the sort of closed-off, insular, digitally connected, isolating world we've created. So thank you to all the amazing presenters across the 3 days, although it feels like a week, but then across the 3 days. I have to say there were so many good presentations this year, and so many presentations. Very grateful for everyone who's been involved in different ways, and thanks for the great questions, and thanks for everything, honestly. So thank you for everything you do, thank you for your time, and thank you for bringing people back together, and thank you for recreating community, and a special thanks to all my friends from different Queensland government agencies, because I know we cheated and put in Queensland this year, but it's been amazing working. I see some people in the room, some people can't be here today, but your generosity as well is a good example of going beyond the rules. You stick within your rules, but you go further, and it's much appreciated, the stuff that you volunteer as well. So, and that's just, I'm not picking favorites, I'm not as cheeky, but I do appreciate everyone's hunger, commitment, generosity, which is vast. And, oh God, thank you, Jenny, for nodding. Thank you for all my colleagues for actually doing all the stuff and pulling together an amazing couple of days. And thanks for all my Aspire colleagues for all the work you do. And thanks, everyone.
What do the next 50 years of 4ZZZ sound like? We have no idea.
Yeah. You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Issy, we've got Gabe, and we've got our friendly neighbourhood marine scientist.
Do you know what tuna is?
Fish.
It's fish! Thank God someone's working on this. I don't know what I'd do without it.
Fish are friends, not food.
Great start. Gabe, what does a cat say?
Yeah.
Max, what does a chicken say?
Cluck, cluck.
And Izzy, what does a shark say?
What do we do?
Guys, I really needed that this morning. I really needed that. It made me so happy. My first question today didn't go down that well. Izzy, you weren't here. I asked about Norway. No one knew anything about Norway.
I heard about this in the car. I heard this in the car.
So I thought I'd ask something else, a bit more upbeat, really exciting. What's everyone's favourite conservation success story?
Let me think.
Anyone got one top of the noggin?
Conservation stuff.
Dingoes?
I'll go into another one before my real one, but
it's got to be marine related.
See, you always try and game the system. You game the system. And
It'll be the humpback whales back, 100%. Lock it in.
It is the humpbacks.
It's the humpback whales.
And you think you're really clever, but I did
got
say
it.
the word humpback at the start of the show, so I think it was fairly obvious that mine is the humpback. I thought someone might mention, the Yellowstone wolves. That's a pretty famous one.
I had
It's
to
an
study that for
amazing-
science. That
Isn't
one's
it
really
incredible?
cool.
Well, beautiful
Great
story.
team.
If you don't know about the Yellowstone wolves, look them up. Wonderful story. But yes, today we're talking about humpbacks. In the later half of the last century, it was estimated that only 10,000 humpback whales remained on the planet. And after a huge worldwide effort led by trailblazing scientists, conservationists, and groups like Greenpeace, whaling was banned in 1986. It still makes me smile thinking about, I don't know, it's such a great example of the world coming together for something, like just sort of almost universally. I'm going to say almost because it's not quite. We've still got a couple of countries whaling, like we talked about at the top of the show today, but almost universally agreeing to just stop doing this. And we did, and it's had a huge impact, at least for humpbacks, definitely. So today it's estimated that the global population of humpbacks is about 80,000 whales, and we can boast a little bit here because Australia's local population, our East Coast population, is estimated to be about half of that, and I saw one estimate from a month ago that said they thought it was 60,000, which would be wild. But I would assume that we've probably gone past 80 at that point globally. So we have a lot of whales on the East Coast, we've got a lot of humpbacks globally, and it's really exciting. But there's something sort of interesting here. Conservationists have long recognised that humpback whales are recovering much, much faster than many other whale species. Even in ecosystems that are under pressure from declining fish stocks and changing temperatures, shifting prey distributions, rapid Arctic warming, the humpbacks seem to be doing fine, and in direct comparison to other fin whales. Other whales aren't doing that great. They're not rebounding that fast. And so people are sort of looking into well, why are they so resilient? And why are they coming back so quickly? It's not like, fish that do spawning and stuff where they just rebuild their populations very, very quickly. They still have very slow life cycles. They're just doing okay, for now anyway. But Olga Filatova from the University of Southern Denmark, QS ranking, please.
Southern Denmark.
University of Southern Denmark. It's either going to be like 50 or 1,200.
Yeah.
600,
Somewhere in between
800.
there.
Yeah.
850.
500.
It's 303. Go the University of Southern Denmark. I've only been to the north of Denmark, so I can't comment on the south of Denmark, but apparently they're quite good at this. Olga suspected something else may have helped them along. Their diverse diet. Now, this is not new information that they have a diverse diet. People know this. We know that humpbacks have the most diverse diet of all rorquals, which is a group of whales that include minke, fin, and blue whales. So a lot of animals and a lot of other fin whales hunt a specific prey. So, for example, I think it's, which one are we talking? Pilot whales will hunt squid, for example.
Yep.
That's their thing. They love squid. Sperm whales love squid. That's their thing. They'll go and hunt squid. That's pretty common for animals to do that. Put a lot of time and energy into trying to find this one prey. It's like an evolutionary thing. I'm going to be the best predator for this prey. That's my job. Humpbacks are a little different. They prefer to stay in one space, even if their preferred food source runs out. It's like preferring a restaurant for the vibes rather than the menu, right? They're like, I just really like where I am, This is a good spot. And so on this they were on a multi-year research trip in the waters off of eastern Russia, Olga and her lab mates. They weren't looking at just humpbacks, they were looking at a bunch of different whales. But they saw exactly this. They saw a really good example of this, and they've posted this online. They published it, I should say, not posted. Published it, peer-reviewed online. They were monitoring the feeding behaviours of a group of around 100 humpback whales over this time. And in 2017, they saw that they were largely hunting polar cod, which is interesting to me, because honestly, I really thought they were mainly on the little shrimpy things. This is a fish. It's an abundant fish that grows to an average length of 25 centimetres, which is actually pretty large. They're a baleen whale, so to me, imagining them eating whole fish is a little odd, but they do. That was what they liked. They were hunting these fish in 2017. But then in 2018, when they returned to their frozen feeding grounds, the cod didn't show up. They just hadn't spawned that year. They don't spawn every single year. But the humpbacks stayed in the area, and they just switched to eating krill. Just decided to eat that instead. And the researchers were able to confirm this using stable isotope analysis. So because humpbacks do most of their feeding underwater and out of view, their diet has to be confirmed chemically. So they collected skin samples and analysed their nitrogen stable isotopes. Essentially, if they had a higher level of 15 nitrogen, that meant that they had a diet rich in fish, and if it was lower, it was krill dominated. So they were able to essentially confirm that in 2018 they ate a lot of krill, 2017 they ate fish. They had just swapped. It's confirming that it's a real dietary shift, not just temporary feeding behaviour. Realistically, this is a very good idea to be able to do this, because you can waste a lot of time and energy searching for a food you like. It's really intensive. It's much better for you to just eat anything. And I can confirm this in real life as a bit of a picky eater. I would way prefer to just be able to eat whatever I want and not really care about it. It makes your life so much easier than having to hunt for things that you actually want to eat. In comparison to other fin whales, humpbacks are actually really slow. They're slow animals. They're not the type to go and chase after something. They even have a reputation in the scientific field for being the, quote, laziest hunters of all whales.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's got a sting, right, if that's published in multiple papers. But it's not necessarily wrong. They invented something called trap feeding, which I had not heard about. This is an Arctic thing, apparently. They go to areas where the seagulls are catching fish, and they float at the surface with their mouths just a bit open. And it works because the fleeing fish think that they've found shelter and swim right in.
Like a cave.
I mean, it's absolutely inspired, brilliant, genius, fantastic way to eat. They're just doing actually nothing. They do nothing and they eat. And so essentially Filatova says that what they lack in speed, they make up for in creativity and willingness to eat whatever's available. And even more than that, they're actually taking advantage of climate change, moving into areas of the Arctic that have melted and now have new food sources. Humpbacks are resilient little, well, large, very large things. The dining oddities that they have don't show up in their genetic cousins, which may make it even worse for them. So as good as this is for humpbacks, it's also shining a light on exactly why some of these other whales might not be doing so well and what we need to do to help them. So it's a really cool little bit of research. I love the casual slights at humpbacks here for being lazy and slow. They also said that their fins were big and weird. Bit mean, didn't know if that was necessary, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting just to show why our favourite little humpbacks are doing so fantastically and how we can help all their cousins.
As toddlers, we all learned our sounds, right? Gabe, what does a cat say?
Yeah.
Max, what does a chicken say?
Cluck, cluck.
And Izzy, what does a shark say?
I'm coming to get you.
Yeah.
What does the fox say?
Tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is No Idea with me, Max. We've got Issy, we've got Maximillian, and we've got Gabe.
Okay, it's time for the best part of the show. Loosely defined as science, yeah, you already know. Everybody listens to 4ZZZ just to hear us talking about what Butters just did. Subscriptions just keep rolling like the tires on a car. But something tells me that our science curves won't go far. But unlike an engine, I won't keep you in suspension. We're all here to hear him talk, so let's give him attention. You're not ready for when he starts rapping. Gonna hand the mic to Max, and I'm not talking Van Stappen.
F1 happened in Qatar on the weekend. Arguably, Aussie Oscar Piastri's favourite circuit, and he did not disappoint. Setting the fastest times when it counted. So much so... Oscar easily won the sprint. That makes it 8 for this year. As it sits, Gabe now has one hand on the No Idea Anthem trophy.
Locked in 8 at the start of the season, 8 wins, sprints or main races.
So you've only got now one other competitor. I think in myself, right? If you are Lando Norris, I am either Verstappen or Piastri in this really tortured analogy.
And because last weekend was a sprint weekend, there was also a feature race. Would Oscar remain triumphant? Alas, there was some confusion in the McLaren camp.
Can we call it confusion?
Yeah.
Can we? Can we just call it incompetence?
Okay, incompetence. When the safety car came out at perfectly the right time to do your required one of 2 pit stops.
Yeah, so basically because the Pirellis are a bit useless on the Qatar circuit, there's a mandatory 25 lap limit for each set of tyres.
And it was a 57 lap race.
which means you're stopping twice. Wow, safety car, lap 7.
Let's go.
Should we pit? Wow. Don't know, guys.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I think we should stay out.
Yeah, I reckon we stay out. Keep track position, right? It's really hard to overtake here. Not like we're going to have to pit again.
Yeah. And we'll do the pit stops while the cars are going flat out around the track. Yeah, that makes really good sense. Oh, well.
Yeah. And it's a 26-second time loss. 26 second. It's a huge pit lane. Oh, and I mean, McLaren have to thank their lucky stars that Fernando Alonso decided to be a bit of a prick and back up the field. Otherwise, Lando would have fed out.
Yeah.
Way back.
Under 6, yeah, so 7th or 8th, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oscar came home in second. So, you know, Max Verstappen won the race, as usual.
Inevitable.
Antonelli had to take down his, what do you call it, media posts because he's
social
getting
media.
social media because he's getting so much hate.
Yes. I did see that,
Textful. Yeah. So it's back online now. So.
But it's interesting because from the I guess the live feed, it very much did look like he just pulled over to let Lando through. He's actually made a mistake for one, and they didn't show that in the broadcast. And then Jean-Pierre Lambiase, Verstappen's engineer, jumped on it immediately, going like, "That looked a bit interesting."
Sure.
But in fairness, he's running his own race. If he wants to wave through a much faster car, that's on him. If he feels like he's pushing too hard to keep, Lando behind, it's his prerogative. I mean, and we've seen this in other championship battles. Schumacher would always get out of the way for Sebastian Vettel anyway. This is nothing new, and it seems so strange to give hate for a driver because of a decision they've made on the track that, of course it has an impact in the championship, but like death threats over that?
And Mercedes would love Max Verstappen to win the championship anyway, because they keep asking him to try and drive for Mercedes.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
They're not going to be saying, Antonelli, pull over, let Lando get some more points against Max Verstappen.
Yes. I also wanted to mention the Zach Brown in a little bit of a hot seat at the moment as well, especially post-media, post-race in the media. I'm trying to remember which journalist, but they pointed out that Zach Brown did a runner between the McLaren hospitality suite to Oscar, and then there was that one-sided hug that was filmed, and it was cripplingly awkward. So I think... I don't know.
Oscar was speechless.
Oscar was speechless. No caption on his Instagram post. Normally he puts a little bit of music and a caption, even if it's on the worst days. But no caption for this one. And everyone is now talking about how he needs to move.
Yeah.
And whilst that's quite extreme, this weekend, I think, has pushed all the tension points together.
It has. Yeah.
And so we're seeing all sorts. I've seen on socials everything from death threats to they should drop out, they should be investigated, blah, blah, blah. So I think... maybe staying off the internet for a little bit prior to this Sunday is probably smart, because it could be... I know there's maths in play. I know that people are betting as well on who's to win the championship, but right now it is really tense. And I think there's nothing beneficial that can come from just spreading stuff online as well.
I still see Lando winning the championship this year. He's got pretty well on.
So we run through the what's coming up. So it's Abu Dhabi is the final race. It's this weekend. In Brisbane time, qualifying will be at midnight Saturday night, Sunday morning start time, and then the race will be at 11 p.m. Sunday Brisbane time. Which is a doable time.
Yeah.
The scenarios, I pulled up just the Formula One's own website because they ran through the scenarios of what could happen. Because there are mathematically three drivers who could win the drivers'
which
championship.
Which is great for the championship when you think about it. To come down to this, there used to be like 4 races left in the year, and the championship was decided.
How lucky are we to be able to have to think about what top 3 now? But yes,
no
Gabe,
one will be happier than the marketing departments and the sports betting
No,
department.
for real. I was going to say the...
But,
Go on.
The stats, sorry, Izzy. The stats will be if Norris comes first, second, or third in this race, he wins the Drivers' Championship, no matter what happens elsewhere. Then, if he comes fourth, if Lando Norris in the McLaren comes fourth, and Verstappen in the Red Bull comes first, then Verstappen would be the Drivers' Champion for the year.
Right.
For the Aussie, Oscar Piastri, the only other person in contention for the Drivers' Championship, Lando Norris would have to finish 6th or lower, and he would have to win for him to take out the championship. And even then, he'd still need to beat Verstappen by, I'm not sure how many places he'd need to beat Verstappen, by at least one, possibly two places, depending on where they're finishing. But it would be, for the Aussie to win, for Piastri to win, Lando Norris, his teammate in the other McLaren, would need to come 6th or worse for us to even think about it.
Yes.
So that's what we're dealing with.
And I'm thinking Lando's he'll be happy just to get on the podium, and that's a sure victory.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if he finishes top 3, game over. We stop talking. Basically.
Yeah, but can we trust McLaren to even get that right?
I know. Oh god.
Anyway,
much to look forward to this weekend.
If Piastri comes first, Verstappen 2nd, and Norris 6th, then Piastri would win.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
No pressure.
If Oscar wins it, it's like, how does that even work for? Oh yeah, like Max has to win it, doesn't he? In that scenario, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Antonelli. Not Antonelli. Hadja.
Yes.
Woo!
Has been promoted to the main team, the Red Bull Racing team. Coming off the Racing Bulls, he's been driving pretty well in the Racing Bulls this year. So,
we saw it all the way back in Australia
Formula
24.
2. Yeah.
It was that was a dominant performance that weekend, and it seemed exactly the sort of driver that Red Bull wanted in their stable.
Yeah. And
really great to see 1 year in the junior team. We'll see what he can do. New regulations. Hopefully the car's a little bit, let's say, a bit more amenable to everyone's driving styles.
Compliant.
Yes, compliant's a good word. Yes. Tameable. Yeah. Really, really great to see. Also nice for a team to announce something on a Tuesday so we can actually talk about it as opposed to the usual Thursday.
But it does mean Yuki now reserve driver, correct?
Yes.
For Red Bull?
Right.
So,
Yes, the reserve. He's the Daniel Ricciardo.
He is the
Red Bull.
Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Which is quite unfortunate because it's the last of a certain type of rookie, certain class of rookie departing. But exciting to see. A lot of people were talking his energy, especially the most recent race where he was literally, like, as usual, swearing into the radio. He has a certain charm to him that will be sad to no longer see. But hopefully, we'll, just like Daniel, we'll get little glimpses of him. Yeah. But yes, I think that's all our F1, correct?
Yeah.
Sail GP happened on the weekend. Let's just say their cricketing team's not so good during the Ashes. But the UK sailing team, Emirates GBR, has just secured this year's Sail GP crown. Sailing last week off Abu Dhabi in light winds. Team GBR sailed past Team New Zealand and Team Australia. Team Australia should have won this race. To secure their first ever title. So
They should have won.
Yeah.
And it's sad not to see Team Australia on the top, but it's probably best for the sport for the Aussies not to win.
Again.
Give someone else a
We could have done with the $2 million a prize pool. But
Damn.
That's true. Supercars also happened over the weekend, Max.
Yeah, Adelaide.
And wrapped up in Adelaide. Wrapped up the championship for them. Red Bull Ampol Racing ended up on top with Penrite Racing in second, and then the Drivers' Championship went to Chaz Mostert with Will Brown coming in second. The top 4 were really close in the end for the Drivers' Championship in the Supercars, but Chaz Mostert did end up cleaning up with a decent performance. He needed to finish in the top handful to guarantee it, and he did that and wrapped up the championship.
And there's a bit of controversy with this new format, hey? The finals, the playoffs, or whatever we're calling it.
Playoffs.
That's so crazy. Give it the football analogy, but that's what they're trying to do. And we stole it from the American NASCAR. And American NASCAR seems rethinking the whole idea anyway.
So we're a bit behind the 8 ball
because
anyway.
you've got someone like Shane Van Gisbergen who wins all the street races and he gets automatic inclusion into the playoffs because he wins on the road circuits, but he's hopeless on the ovals. So, where you're not getting an all-rounder driver. But, they'll keep it going.
Very, very good competition in the supercars. I was having a look at the stats, and Brooke Finney, who finished in third, had 13 wins and 17 poles to his name and still came in third.
Yeah, because they're saying he should have won it,
had
right?
less than 5 wins,
Yeah, I thought Finney was going to win it, but because he won Saturday's race, didn't he? And then, and then
Payne won. Matthew Payne, I think, won Saturday's race, but or Sunday's race, whatever the feature race was. Yeah.
Oh, Sunday's race, but I'm talking about Saturday's race, the race before Sunday's race,
Yep. Too many races now. One race, one qualifying. Let's go back to that.
Let's do that. And we'll talk about Formula 2 next week.
those crabs that sort of use their claws to thump on the ground, and the vibrations tell the female crabs how big the male one is by thumping around on it. And it got us thinking about there's this whole thing. It occurs a lot in mammals, where a lot of mammals have evolved this ability to fake deeper vocalizations in the males as a way of appearing larger. So I don't think these crabs have quite gotten there yet, although there would be a benefit to being able to fake a deeper vibration for the male crabs. All sorts of animals. Koalas do it, lions do it, chimps do it, humans do it, all sorts of monkeys do it.
Yeah, humans do it.
The males,
So annoying.
males of the species are able to...
What are you talking about, Peter?
Well, that's right, Max. That's what I was thinking about, you know?
You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show's No Idea, your weekly dose of science. You probably wouldn't know it from the MotoRap, but it is. It's a science show.
It is a science show.
With me, Max. We got Issy. We got Peta. What do you got for us, Gabe?
I've got for us, Max, some AI. It's been 3 years since we all logged on to ChatGPT for the first time and put in those first prompts.
Yes.
November 2022.
Yeah.
Since then, how do we sum up the last 3 years of AI?
Just
a free-for-all.
All together, breathe in and long exhale out.
Yes.
A lot of industries love it. We've seen trillions, I think, in total of investment in chips and data centers and investment in companies for a future that may be a very lucrative one with AI at the core of it. We've also seen the complete opposite with mass layoffs, with people, having all these horrible impacts of AI on their livelihoods, artists getting increasingly screwed over by it. And then I think an even larger group of people who have really not had much happen to them from AI yet. Just talked about it a lot. Maybe generated some stuff in ChatGPT.
Ruined your feed.
Seen some weird videos of animals jumping on a trampoline, and that's about it. So last year, the Australian government put out a proposal for voluntary AI safety standards and mandatory guardrails for high-risk AI in the country. I think we talked about it at the time, and it was pretty interesting. There was a study that came out earlier this year, a few months after those announcements, which found that 3 in 4 Australians support AI regulation, and the standards have been in development since, or in debate since there was a public consultation about it. And what has happened now is a plan has been released. So what we had last year was a proposal, and what we've got now is an AI plan, the National AI Plan, if you want the proper name, from the Australian government. What it's done is completely reverse track on those mandatory guardrails. So they're not there anymore.
Oh, what? Of course.
What was proposed in the paper a little over a year ago were 10 guardrails. They included some pretty vague, wishy-washy stuff, but there was also things in there about enabling human control or intervention in an AI system to achieve meaningful human oversight, inform end users regarding AI-enabled decisions, interactions with AI, and AI-generated content. So that's things like potentially could have ended up in things like you must tag AI content if it's there in an end user's experience, which is something that I know one company, Steam, is doing in their game library. They are sticking to their guns to have an AI tag on any game that's got substantially AI generated art and some other things. And then there's also stuff in there about transparency and open access and keeping records of AI use so it can be investigated and that sort of stuff. All of that's been ditched in this final plan, which was, and just as a side note, I thought it was fascinating when I was looking at this. The Australian government stored the PDF of last year's proposal paper on a Google Cloud API, which I just thought was just great. One of the biggest players in this whole thing is attracting Google investment in AI infrastructure in Australia. So instead, what we've got is the Australian government says effectively saying the existing legal regime will be enough to deal with regulating AI, including high-risk AI, which was what those guardrails were just for high-risk AI,
the
not for all AI.
The existing legal regime.
So it's using the existing legal regime to cover any cracks. The Australian government is putting $30 million, which I'm going to just put all these big, lofty numbers in terms of bomb websites. So that's a third
That's
of a bomb website.
Fantastic.
I love that.
Good to know.
Into
What a
establishing
good
an
space.
AI safety institute. What that will accomplish, the powers it will have, what it'll be focusing on is still really vague and to be determined. The plan overall, a lot of the commentary about it has been it's very vague and it leaves a lot to be done in terms of actually getting real outcomes out the door. And many are saying the real goal of this plan, the final plan, the national AI plan, is to open the door to data center investment from overseas, fueling what could be a very lucrative industry for Australia to
And that's why they dropped the guardrails.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And you'd be hard-pressed to argue against that assessment because there's 3 pillars in this plan and 2 of them are about capitalizing on AI opportunities and benefits.
Yes.
The last of the 3 pillars is focused on safety.
Right.
So-
That's right.
Delightful.
It's like the environment laws.
And
They're
by
for
the way,
business and
that's
maybe
right.
the environment.
And so there are definitely opportunities from AI investment in this country. We've got the potential for, even if it is all one big bubble of investment, it could throw cash behind things like renewable energy in the country, and so that would help power those data centers and the rest of the country as well. And in a world where the cost of doing just about anything is going up, AI could bring costs down for businesses and governments. There's a lot of tech experts out talking about how Australia should stay on the forefront of AI and not just end up being at the beg and whim of these companies from overseas, to actually have stuff set up now so that the investment, if whatever investment is there, Australia can take a chunk of that, and also that we can train up local capacity in the private sector and the public sector to not just be a spectator to
Correct.
to
So we
what
can
AI
pivot
will
straight
become.
away.
Yes.
Exactly. And we pivot, we can have that intellectual build-up happening in Australia, not just be reliant on what's happening overseas,
It
particularly
seems
in the US.
It seems relative to social media, right? Social media, the US owns almost all major platforms. They control a lot of, like you said, the legislation behind them. So I guess the idea is that this is a chance for us to be the US of AI.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with this debate, though, is that where the science show that loves talking about data and evidence and the future of AI in all of our lives is complete speculation at the moment. Absolutely, no one has a crystal ball on what it will look like. What I can say is the Australian Academy of Sciences has welcomed the plan more than it has raised concerns. It's particularly welcomed funding for AI research, which will come in the form of a new CRC funding round. So that's quite a big chunk of cash that will be there for AI research and funding the development of AI knowledge in Australia, and hopefully letting us drive some of the research into AI. But I'm curious to hear about what you think about the guardrails being removed, because the plan has been largely welcomed by a lot of tech experts, obviously a lot of private businesses that have something to gain from it are welcoming it, but it's been largely welcomed by a lot of tech experts and by a decent number of legal experts I saw welcoming the concept of using the existing framework, adding that it needs to be amended. But they welcome the idea of not rewriting a whole new law book for AI regulation or high risk AI regulation. But I'm keen. What do we think about the?
So now we know what the experts think and their expert opinion. But let's go equally to our own non-expert opinions. My opinion is that I always listen to experts first, people who know what they're talking about. This is not my field, so I'm not going to be able to really have a good idea of what this means. I think my initial reaction, my gut reaction was, ooh, I don't know, I feel like maybe some guardrails. But at the same time, that's not thinking about how things evolve and change so quickly in this field. So, like, maybe putting a new, to have lawyers say, no, we don't want new legislation is a big thing, because it probably means that it's going to be outdated very quickly and be more of a harm than a help. And having more, sometimes in legal practice, it can be helpful to have a vaguer law because you can apply it more nuance. You can have more nuance in the way you apply it. So, I'll listen to them. I'll see what they say about that. I think my only concern is in safety, specifically child and safety for women on the internet. That's a big deal for me with AI. It's the thing I think about most. And to their point, they have some guardrails against that in our current legislation, so maybe that'll be okay. But that's where my real nervous space lies. It's also in political content. I think we have some real
risks there that I'd love to see managed. But maybe I don't know the current legislation like the back of my hand. Maybe we have stuff already.
What do you reckon, Max and Izzy?
Look, from a policy standpoint, obviously, Australia, law will always fall about 10 to 15 years behind what is happening in the world because it takes a while for stature and legislation to be made and put through. So I think, Peter, you definitely have a point of if we were to write anything, it would be probably outdated within 5 years. It's only been
Easily,
3 years since we've had ChatGPT publicly available. I think it is disappointing in comparison to the European Union's AI Act, which was quite broad and wide sweeping. Obviously, the European Union is a lot more, how do I say this, together, a lot more kind of well-rounded. So
but it's saying something that the European Union, with so many different countries
can
people
come together.
doing things, can come together to make stuff like that.
So we do have strong legislation in place. Australia is one of the best within regards to cybersecurity. We were the first country in the world to arrest someone for online crimes. So I think we do have quite strong cybersecurity laws and protections in place. But I think this kind of general submission into business, or especially economics, may be telling of a pivot in how the government may look at AI as, yes, a business tool, which is great for the economy, especially in a cost of living crisis, but we shouldn't forget how it also affects individuals. And I think it's definitely, whilst it sounds disappointing to the individual to hear two pillars of it are built on economics and not individuals, I think we need to keep an eye on this as well and just see where they choose to pivot, because we do have strong privacy laws in Australia, and most of our laws are also based off super old legislation. I know for journalists, our media laws are based off things from about the mid-50s. So it's, I don't know. I think there will always be a lag in legislation when it comes to any issue. I'm just hoping that it can be, people can act on certain critical issues in AI quite quickly. So interesting to hear how it's developed from its initial scheme to now. I think that's always interesting in the policy world. Max, do you have anything to add?
It's no secret that I'm an AI fanboy, so
Definitely not.
Fewer guardrails are better for me.
Jesus. Oh, Max is ready to turn the world in AI. Max wants to plug into the metaverse and just upload his consciousness and fully send it.
That's right.
That's Max's opinion on this, and it's valid.
Did they give a date of when they're going to revisit legislation?
I
reviewing
didn't see anything when I was reading,
Yeah.
but it's a big document, the National AI Plan. There may have been some
Probably
sort of timelines in
2030,
there.
yeah. Okay, cool.
But it leads a lot. It's more of a, it's one of the, it is a plan. It's not like a specific, here's the ABC.
It's a plan to have a plan.
It is. It's one of those plans for a plan.
Pretty typical for the government.
Yeah.
Gonna plan to plan at some point for this. There you go, capital P.
I think I would love to personally see a prioritization of regulation. We have no regulators for AI in Australia. So if they're looking for ideas, probably start with that one.
So there you go. The proposal for guardrails for high-risk AI have been removed from Australia. They were proposed last year and they did not make the cut for the final plan, which instead focuses on the opportunities, particularly for workers potentially in AI and for investment in big data centers and renewable energy and everything else that can come along with AI.
Cool.
Industry. Yeah, that's what I've got, Max.
What do you got for us, Izzy?
Excuse me? Izzy? I'm not doing anything. Throw to Gabe.
I thought, yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had something. Sorry, we had
off
something.
air being like, you do this, you do that. We get on air, doesn't know.
AI could never. Murray texted in saying many small, simple AIs working in small niche areas can work to create an overwhelming AI via aggregate. On the back of that last story about Australia's new national AI plan, which is what we're seeing, right? Like a very niche little applications of AI rocketing through and being having wide uptake, and then other stuff not so much. Like you're also getting those YouTube ads for just like creating Google AI slop in Gemini. Like there's also we're feeling the scattergut approach of try everything and see what sticks, and a lot of it's not sticking. Yeah. But a lot of those
and it costs
things
nothing
are
to
working.
generate. Well, it costs
And I was going to say AI slop was what the word of the year this year.
Yeah.
So I think we're all feeling quite conscious of
Owen texted
AI's
in
lot.
saying, "Hey Max, given your unhealthy attraction to AI, what subscription price point would you be recommending to an AI platform? You subscribe to any of them, Max?"
No, I don't. Not yet.
I tried ChatGPT Pro for about 2 months and got nothing out of it. So didn't go with it.
I mean, I use it, but I never pay for it.
You know what I would never pay for an AI platform though is more than what it costs to subscribe to 4ZZZ.
Yeah.
Fair
What
enough.
have we got for us, Max? What are the price points for 4ZZZ? To support AI-free radio.
Would ChatGPT be under pets or under 18? Because it is only, 3 years old?
It'd be under concession, I think.
Under concession.
$40. So
subscribe your LLM.
If you're under 18, it's $25. If you're pet, it's $25. If you're concession or AI, it's $40. A full subscription is $80. Passionate subscriber, $140 for the year, or super sub, $500. Get your name written downstairs in gold ink. Job done. Do we know what the prize is?
It's a
for
new
this
month, baby. That means a new sub prize.
Yes, yeah.
This December, the End Bar in West End will be giving away a generous subscriber prize of $250 to use at your pleasure in their bar full of great cocktails, natural wines, and craft beer rotated heavily on the menu. They have live music, local DJs, a generous daily happy hour, and some gorgeous cocktail specials. So, if you want to get in the running for this $250 prize, 4ZZZ.org.au/support. Plus, in general, go visit them as well. We are always happy to highlight new and local bars, venues, sub outlets that help you get you good bang for your buck on your sub prizes. So, on your subscriptions. So, 4ZZZ.org.au/support. Do not subscribe your AI, please. I don't want to read out that name because when you subscribe, it lets us know the lights go off, and then we read out typically where you're from and what your name is, and I don't want to see any of them.
I want to change my subscriber nickname.
No, don't do that, Max. Don't, because you have to change
Max
your
GPT.
Max GPT.
Brilliant. No idea. Space news. I'm going to talk about dead air. We experience a bit on 4ZZZ from time to time.
Yes, we do.
We like to give you a weekly dose at some point during the show just to keep you on your toes.
Are you truly listening?
Yes. But a force out of our control, the sun, recently unleashed a strong X19 class solar flare that briefly knocked out radio communications across Australia and parts of Southeast Asia.
That's what's always happening when we go.
It's the sun.
Yeah.
It's the sun.
Yeah, the eruption, which peaked at around 9:49 a.m. on November 30, came from a newly emerging sunspot region called AR429.
Nice ring.
As it rotated into view over the sun's northeastern limb. The flare triggered a strong R3 radio blackout across the sunlit side of Earth at the time of the eruption. Okay, Russia's space launch site in Kazakhstan has sustained some damage last week after a Soyuz mission took off with 2 Russian cosmonauts and 1 US astronaut. While the agency was assessing the condition of the launch pad, it said all necessary spare parts for repair are available and the damage will be eliminated in the near future. I love that. The damage will be eliminated. Yep. According to Russian space bloggers, Roscosmos will be unable to conduct space launches for some time due to the accident, alleging that the site in Kazakhstan was seriously damaged. Now, the Artemis program, this is us putting boots back on the moon, not us, for the US, NASA, wanting to get some boots on the ground. And NASA has now revealed the possible nationality of the first European to fly to the moon on one of their future Artemis missions. And then this is where I found out how many countries are in Europe. It's 44. So from the 44 countries in Europe, my question to you is, and because you guys are so across Eurovision, which country has been selected to provide the astronaut?
From the EU.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to guess Germany.
You're correct, Gabe.
Whoa.
Hey?
Look at you.
There you go.
And a final question. The ISS is fully booked at the moment. Every spacecraft, every port has been loaded onto the.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
How many spaceports do you reckon they got? Because that's how many spacecraft are now attached to the space
I'm going to
station.
assume there's at least one for the US side and one for the Russian side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say 2, but maybe there's a spare, so 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Minimum of 2.
Yeah, so they usually have one for crew and one for cargo. So that's a minimum of 4 already.
Yep.
And then they'd have a couple of extra slots, but it's actually 8. They've got 8 ports that they can dock.
There's 8 things hooked up to the ISS
Yes,
right
at the
now.
moment, yeah.
That's crazy.
Fully hooked up. And that's it for the space news this week.
Good stuff.
What do the next 50 years of 4ZZZ sound like? We have no idea.
Yeah.
You tune into 4ZZZ, and the show is no idea, but not for much longer.
Longer.
Sign us out. Gabe.
Not for much longer. We will not linger. That is all we have time for. This human intelligence powered show was brought to you thanks to all of the subscribers to 4ZZZ. You can join them at 4ZZZ.org.au, which is also where you can listen back to the full recording of this show with all the music as well as a bunch of our previous shows. The condensed version is available on your podcasting platform of choice to search up No Idea 4ZZZ. Thanks to Toby for editing that up, and thanks to you, Max, Issy, and thanks to Peta for your stories this week. We'll be back in your ears next week. Between now and then, don't get too caught up on scale analysis. Get ready for a whole lot more AI and go eat an Australian papaya or something. Channel some good juju to the Oscar Piastri for the race this weekend.
Thanks for everyone for texting in today. It was a great show.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll speak to you next week.
See ya.
Yeah.
I'm a goddamn marvel of modern science.